Hello everyone and welcome to Legal Risk Today. My name's Stephen Carris and joining me today is Chris Kirkblythe, CEO of LBS Legal. Hello Chris.
Hello.
Chris, well I guess our viewers want to know, who are LBS Legal?
Okay, so LBS Legal is a company which provides risk, compliance and quality standard advice to firms of solicitors throughout England and Wales. Would you like me to tell you a little bit about our background?
If you would please, yes.
To go back a bit in time, in 2008, something of a perfect storm hit the legal profession. First of all, there was a new regulatory body, the Solicitors Regulation Authority, which proved to be a rather robust and comprehensive regulator. Secondly, there were very difficult economic conditions, particularly in the property and commercial markets. Thirdly, the Legal Aid Board, as it was then, were making significant cuts across various practice areas. And generally speaking, it was a very difficult and a challenging time for the profession, and it was greatly exacerbated by the behaviour of professional indemnity insurers, who significantly increased their premiums, and banks who withdrew support from legal practices fairly rapidly. What these circumstances highlighted was a lack of a particular skill set within the legal profession, and particularly within small to medium-sized law firms. And that skill set was generally around risk management, regulatory compliance, and the development of quality systems which guaranteed positive outcomes for clients consistently. So that being my area of work, we decided, a small group of us initially got together who had expertise in those fields, and we started to offer our services to small law firms. And from then, I'm glad to say that we've helped many hundreds of firms and many hundreds of solicitors with SRA matters and with a whole range of risk management issues. And we've grown to be the largest specialist company in the country in our field.
Okay, and can you just explain for the viewers at home, because they may not be familiar with the SRA as a regulatory body. Can you just, for the benefit of the viewers, explain who they are?
The legal profession for centuries was a self-regulating profession. The Law Society was the professional body, and solicitors collectively always believed that it was in their best interests for the profession to have a fabulous reputation, so they took the regulation of themselves very seriously. That changed very profoundly in 2007 when the Solicitors Regulation Authority was formed. It's an independent body, independent of the Law Society. It is not a representative body. It is not there to serve the legal profession. It is there to regulate the legal profession. So for the first time in the history of the profession, there is an external body with statutory powers, very significant statutory powers, which oversees the conduct of solicitors and which has very wide-ranging disciplinary sanctions available to it.
What do you think is the overall goal of the SRA? I mean, if you could put it into just a few words, what would you, in your opinion, what do you think the overall goal is? Well, I mean, forget what the actual official line is. What do you think the ultimate goal of the SRA is?
Well, the official line is contained within the Legal Services Act in Section 1 of the Act, which sets out the statutory objectives to which the SRA has to work.
What do you believe the role is?
If I was to put it very simply, it is to protect consumers from lawyers, or from the wrongdoing.
So do you believe then that the public's perception of the legal profession has been skewed over the years, and that generally they're not viewed very favourably, and so the SRA, due to maybe some unscrupulous solicitors trying to profit out of their clients, and other misdemeanors. Do you think that the SRA are really there to stamp out this kind of behaviour ultimately, or is it more than just that?
I actually believe the reputation of the profession is in fairly decent shape. I know, of course, you know, there are lots of jokes that would indicate otherwise.
Have you got one?
Well, I think the jokes against lawyers go back to Shakespearean times when in one of the history plays, the line is, the first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. So, you know, and of course there's lots of jokes about ambulance chasers, there are lots of jokes about, you know, solicitors charging extortionate hourly rates. And, you know, I hear it said that solicitors are perceived in that same category as estate agents and so forth, and more recently bankers. I don't quite believe that. I think, and you know, there's no reason why my opinion on this should be more valid than anybody else's, because you know I don't know what the public perception is at why, but my personal feeling is that most people still feel that they can talk to their solicitor or a solicitor in confidence, and they will expect to be reasonably well served by that solicitor, and I believe that generally speaking, you know, they are. I think ours is a good profession. I'm very proud I know lots of extremely talented, very conscientious, diligent, decent practitioners, and it's a privilege and a genuine pleasure to work closely with them.
So, in relation to protecting the public and the SRA's role as you see it, that would surely mean that if you are a principled, ethical solicitor, then really there's nothing to worry about. You know, generally speaking, that you shouldn't have anything to worry about. So how then does that put LBS Legal? Because I would imagine the majority of the clients of LBS Legal are ethical, upstanding members of the community and society generally. But nevertheless, obviously, I would imagine a number of your clients are still looking for that kind of support. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think generally speaking, historically, if you were a decent and honest practitioner who put the interests of your clients ahead of your own interests, and who respected the rule of law, and who took their position seriously, I think there was very little to fear from a regulatory body, which at the time would, of course, have been the Law Society. And I think there's still a widely held view amongst the profession that, you know, as long as I'm honest and decent, I won't get into trouble. I don't think that view is correct any longer.
Why is that? Why do you think that?
Because the reality has become that if you are a solicitor practicing in England and Wales today, you are almost certainly the most heavily regulated person in the world. Particularly so if you are a manager within a practice, by which I mean a partner in a partnership, a director of a company, or a member of an LLP. The extent of your regulatory responsibilities are, quite frankly, terrifying, bewildering, very, very extensive, very burdensome, expensive. It's difficult to track the changes which you're required to comply with. Let me just give you a very simple example. The SRA handbook, which was introduced in October 2011, is now into its 11th edition, and we're only in 2014. So that means if you're responsible for complying with the SRA handbook, then on 11 different occasions, you have to get a new SRA handbook out, you have to understand the changes, you have to think through what those changes mean for your firm, you have to communicate those changes throughout your firm, and you have to implement them effectively. And you have to do that 11 times in a very short period of time. And of course you have to run a business, and you have to look after your clients who expect your undivided devotion. It's a very difficult balancing act. And many practitioners will tell you it's one that they find impossible. As an organisation, we do nothing else. We only ever act for solicitors. And we concentrate extremely hard on changes to the rules. But even given that that is where our expertise is, and that's where our entire focus is, and we don't have a different business to run, and we don't have a different practice area to keep informed and up to date on. But even LBS Legal finds it difficult to track all of the legislative and regulatory changes and to implement them in time. It's a massive challenge. And it's one that, quite simply, thousands of small law firms have never done well, don't know how to do well, and I would suggest it's impossible for them to.
So you mentioned before the SRA handbook, and
sorry to cut across you, but incidentally, the new chief executive of the SRA, in his opening speech, agrees with me about that.
Right.
That the regulatory burden is almost impossible.
Right.
So it's not a particularly controversial view. However, that does not mean that if you fail to comply with the regulations, you will be shown any leniency or understanding.
Okay.
The SRA is not known for its tenderness towards those it regulates.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Chris. We're just going to take a quick break now.
Okay.
Please join us in a few minutes when we'll be back with Chris Kirkblythe, CEO of LBS Legal.